Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Property Podcast. My name is Michelle Cairns and with us today we've got Athena Dobson from Girls in Property. Hi Athena, how's it going?
Hi Michelle, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you on. Of course, we've done this is the other half of the swap. So I've been on your podcast and now this is your chance to come on ours and talk to our audience. So it's very exciting. And you have been all over the socials for quite some time. So there's lots of people who will already know you, of course, already. But for people who don't, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about you, Michelle, but I always find this question really interesting when someone's like, tell me about you. And you're like, oh my God, what do I say? But no, so I'm Athena. And at the moment, my predominant thing is that I am the CEO and host of Girls in Property, which is by far like my life and soul. On top of that, I'm of course a property investor. So in terms of my experience, I started off as a buy-to-let landlord, still a buy-to-let landlord, but also ventured into the wonderful world of rent-to-rent. So I have experience in rent-to-rent HMOs, rent-to-rent service accommodation, which was an interesting time, let's say. I can talk to you about the good, the bad, and the ugly, all about rent to rent. And now back to circling back round to being a buy-to-let landlord again, just doing simple sort of buy refurbished rent refinances and what people would describe, to be honest with you, as quite vanilla investments. But to me, I think it's all about understanding why and what you want to invest in and the reasons why. And to me, when I've got so many other multiple streams of income happening, it's almost like property is now just my wealth generator, as opposed to once upon a time, which it needed to be my cash generator. I'm going to talk to you a bit about that today, and then the differences in the strategies and why I might have chosen one over the other.
And just give us a quick, a brief introduction of how you got into property, because it's quite interesting with your story about, what you did life before property and how you transitioned in.
Yeah, definitely. So for 7 years of my life, I was actually a premium travel consultant. So anybody who wants to talk to me about travel, come and find me. I can talk to you about travel all day long. So I've traveled to 6 out of 7 continents. It's amazing. One of the coolest things I've ever done, because this is a question I get most asked frequently, is they say, what's the coolest thing you've done? And I say, I got flown to Mozambique first class to go and test drive basically a hotel, and then got flown first class back 24 hours later. That was crazy. That was absolutely wild. So I love that. And I had this most amazing life as a travel consultant. I was quite a high flyer. I mixed with quite a lot of the directors, the CEOs, and I was earning decent commission, really, really decent pay, but it was a commission-based job. And then what happened was of course, as we all know, back in March 2020, the C word happened, which is COVID, of course. And we can only imagine what that was like for everybody else. But as a travel consultant, the world literally shut down. And when the world shut down, your job effectively disappears. So I don't know if anybody else had this experience themselves, but I was actually sat on the couch that night that Boris came on our screens and said to us, everybody stay at home. And about half an hour later, I received an email from my company to say you're furloughed until further notice. And because it was a commission-based job and this was my main source of income, it was absolutely terrifying. We'd never experienced anything like it. I had no idea what was about to happen to the world. And so this cushy job that they tell you, go get a job, make you really secure for life. Suddenly I was like, hold on a minute, this is not secure. This job is not secure. So what then happened was for about 2 weeks, I felt really sorry for myself. I ate a lot of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, as I'm sure we all did, watched a lot of Netflix. And then I was doom scrolling through Facebook one day and a property education company actually came up on my phone. It was a 2-day online course for £99. I'm sure we all know and have seen that one. And so I thought to myself, well, do you know what? Like, why not? I'm not doing anything else. That's saying safe as houses. I've got a bit of money to invest that I've saved up from the commissions I received. Why don't I go and learn? And me being me, as I was doing this 2-day course, the first thing that came into my mind as I was on this course was, I could do that. Like, how hard could that be? I could do that. Just such a naive thing to think, but there we are, little naive me. So after many free information, loads of podcasts, audiobooks, loads of free content, I actually decided that I wanted to invest with my monies into a flat in Bournemouth. All I could afford was a flat with my 25% deposit. I couldn't afford a house, but I knew and I understood the concept of buy, refurbish, rent, refinance. And I'd learned all about this. And so I thought, again, naively, I thought to myself, well, do you know what? I'm going to go and buy myself a freehold flat in Bournemouth, and I'm going to convert it from a 1-bed flat into a 3-bed flat. Now, of course, Michelle, you'll know that the issues with that is, I wanted a freehold flat. They don't exist. Went to the agents, all laughed in my face. And then about 3 to 4 months later, once I got asked to come back to the office where we were no longer obviously booking holidays and earning commissions, instead they had to change and put us onto a basic salary where we had to repatriate people. We had to sort of get people from A to B. Certain countries started opening. It was actually chaos at that time. But I thought to myself, actually, this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't the job that I signed up to. And actually, I think property is the direction that I want to go. That's how I want to do this. And so I continued my search for this freehold flat. I never gave up on it. And then one day I was speaking to my friend. We went for a walk along on Bournemouth Beach. And she said, I know someone who is selling a freehold. Well, she didn't know it was freehold. She says, I know someone who's selling a flat. Talk to them. It might be freehold. Contacted the landlord, who actually was a female portfolio landlord. And she said, yes, it is in fact freehold flat. And then, going through about 9 months later, I mean, conveyancing in COVID was a nightmare. Planning in COVID was a nightmare. That's a conversation for a different time. I could talk to you all about that. But I purchased this flat that I still have to this day. And went on to basically, I didn't do a 3-bed because by the time I worked out the numbers and gained more information, it would actually not have worked with the deal. But I went and did a light refurb on it and put my tenant in there. And that is how my journey effectively started. It started with putting all of my money into this buy to let and then running out of money really quickly.
Well, let's fast forward to today now. And where are you today in terms of like your portfolio and what you're managing in the business?
Yeah. So, do you know what's really interesting is there was a time where I was basically handling these rent properties. So I had so many like rent HMOs, rent serviced accommodations, and I was just being completely crazy with it, absolutely wild in terms of trying to go left, right, centre, trying to manage everything, trying to keep up with everything, and also be the host of Girls in Property, which is a full-time job. It really is when you're running a podcast community events. And so I was like, why am I actually doing this? And one of the shifts that really happened for me was it was about 11:30 at night, and I was called out to one of the service accommodation units because one of the guests that were staying there, she couldn't close the window because her husband had broken his arm. So it was Sunday night, 9:30, and I was about to watch my movie, have some dinner, and I was like, I can't believe I'm now having to go out and do this. And as I was driving into Bournemouth Town Centre, which is where the apartments are, because I'm Bournemouth based, I was like, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this? Like, I don't need to do this anymore. What am I doing? And so I actually have now handed back all of the keys to my rents. I always say to people, I was as happy handing the keys back as I was the day I picked them up. And if anybody wants to talk to me about rent to rent, I can tell you that it got me to the dance. It made me be able to leave my full-time job. And so, for example, through rent to rent, I was able to leave my full-time job in under a year. So I thank it for that. But my God, there is also a lot of hard work it's a full-time job to do with taking those on. So now I literally have only 2 buy-to-lets now. I'm looking to get my third one, which is amazing. I'm really looking forward to it, which is going to be this year. I'm also looking to get into a commercial unit because I want to also get my Girls in Property studio up and running as well, which is exciting. So yeah, not a huge portfolio. Have never said to have now a huge portfolio, but it's about understanding your what and your why and then expanding through there.
Yeah, and as you say, it got you to achieving your goals. And then at that point, you get to decide what you do, right? Because for a lot of people, they hit this number. And for people who are starting out, they think, God, these people are a bit, oh, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, when you start out, you're so desperate to get the deals and desperate to get out of the day job. You can't imagine what it would be like to get there and then have that choice of, okay, do I stay in property or what do I do with all this free time? So obviously you've like now on this passion project of Girls in Property and now, kind of just acquiring the properties in the way that you want to, that makes sense for you at this stage. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, do you know what I'd say to that, Michelle? I tell you what I say to people is you got to think of it like this. For some people, property is like their cash generator and their cash builder, which is absolutely fine. If that's the position that you're in, that's where I was. So you think of it like a pie. And I always talk about the 70-20-10 split. I, at one point in my life where I was at a chapter in my life, needed property to be my cash flow strategy. To be honest with you, now I have multiple streams of income. I have different businesses that I operate that provide me the cash. So what property is now for me is wealth generating. And I tell you the most interesting thing, I always find that when you talk to people, especially in the property world, let's face it, property people are a special breed of people. And they think, oh my God, I need to tell everyone that I've got this massive portfolio. And that's the way that I seem really credible in the industry. And people are going to listen to me because I have 15 properties. And it's like, well, hold on. 15 properties in the north is what, like 4 in the south anyway? So it's all relative depending on like where you are and why you're investing and how you're investing. And for me, property is now a wealth generator. It's something that I'm not looking to kind of fast track my way through. I think a lot of people rush through property, and actually property takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, and you've got to understand the right way to do it. Because let's face it, Michelle, I'm sure you've seen this, so many people have sped through trying to get properties in the wrong way and lost a lot of money in the process. So for me right now, agents are bringing me deals, which is fantastic and they're great, but the deals don't stack because of everything that's happening at the moment. And I'm not just going to rush to get one just to feel, oh, now I've got X amount. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's just a number.
Yeah, or just to get, that extra bit of, that couple £100 cash flow that actually is not what you're looking for right now. So I think it's really important to make that to distinguish between the cash flowing strategy and assets. I think everyone's going to be at different stages. Some people are looking to retire, some people looking to get out of the day job, some people have already, they've already got that time freedom and now they want to have like a long-term asset they can pass down to the kids or whatever. So great. Okay, let's kind of review and look back over your journey of all these different strategies and what you've learned along the way. So I think we're going to come up with, let's say, 6. I think that's the plan, right? So we'll come up with 6 things you wish you'd known about property before you got started. So nice structure for this podcast. And what's number 1? Is number
Yeah.
1 the most important, or are we starting at the bottom?
No. Well, to be honest with you, so the number one question I get asked, Michelle, 100%, is they're like, Athena, if you could start all over again, what do you wish you'd have known? That is the question I get asked. So I sat down one day and I thought, well, hold on, what do I wish I'd have known? So number 1, it has to be, and it has to be this, it really does, which is don't just rush to buy a course. That has to be number 1, because for me, that's what I did. I rushed to buy a course. We've all done it. All of us, we can all hold our hands up. But the reason I'm saying that, and it's so important, is because I think what happens is we have this notion in the property industry of course junkies. We've all heard that saying, course junkies. And I think what it is they're searching. They're constantly searching to think, well, if I spend £15,000 on this mastermind program with this company, because they're telling me that all my dreams are going to come true, then my dreams are naturally going to come true if I spend £15,000. And it's like, no, that is actually not what's going to happen. You are your own champion. You are your own story. You have to put the time, energy, and effort in. And what happened to me was that one of the first investments I ever actually made was £1,000 mastermind. I was that person. Hold my hands up. I got sucked in. I got pulled in with the dream 100%. But what you've got to really think to yourself about is, if you're going to go and buy a course, this would be my advice to you. I'm not saying don't buy courses, because education is one of the most important things you can actually have within the property sector, so that you understand why and how to invest and be led by the right people. But this is what I'd say. Don't ever buy a course when you're not in a position in your life where you can actually implement it. So I don't know about you, Michelle, but sometimes people come to me and they'll say, hey, I've done this property education course with X company. I'm now looking for a bit of extra guidance. And the first question I'll ask is, how long ago did you do that training? And they'll say to me, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, 7 months ago. And I'm like, okay, why did you do the training at that moment? And they're like, oh, I went to this 3-day event. They sucked me in and now I'm looking at it. And I'm like, okay, if you were to go back through all of your notes that you wrote, let's face it, we all have those big binders, don't we? That we've all scribbled on. I'm like, how many of those notes do you actually remember and understand? And they're like, less than 50%. And I'm like, exactly. So then you're not actually using your money in the correct way. If you actually are going to be buying a course from an educator, the first thing I do is I would get loads of information, first of all, from free resources, which are actively available, like your podcast, my podcast. That's the first thing. The second thing I would do is I would go and speak to people who have already done the courses and get some firsthand knowledge from them about the quality of it. And then thirdly, pick the pick the company or the person that you really resonate with. Pick the person that you think, I could learn from this person. I'm inspired by this person. I want to talk to this person. I want to be where this person is. And do I feel that that person's going to be truthful in the knowledge to receive it? Because, it's an interesting industry, the property industry. And so we want to make sure that the right people are educating in the right way. And then, and only then, when you're ready to implement it, let's say a day later, 2 days later, a week later, then go and buy the course. So my advice is, I'm not saying don't buy the course. I'm saying don't rush to buy it because you think that by buying a course, it's then going to answer all of your prayers and information. It's like, buy it because you're in a place where you're in the right time to then implement. That'd be my advice.
Amazing. Yeah, I completely agree. And, we at YPN, we've got our own courses and, we say to people, we're not here to, take money off the food off your table. This is a business decision. You need to be in the right frame of mind. You need to be able to commit to this and make those changes. Otherwise, like, there's no point, right? We only want to work with serious investors anyway. So, yeah, making sure that they are in the right framework,
Yeah, you're right. The right mindset, and you've got your own education, which is incredible. And therefore, when people are in the right mindset to do so, they're going to find you and they're going to come. And YPN's, of course, really credible, and they're going to be like, great, that's who I want to learn from. I've got my own self-led course that I do, and I mentor as well. But I always make sure that everyone that I talk to is at the right frame and time to do it. Otherwise, do you know what? Like, I'm not being funny, but I just don't think you get any pleasure out of that because then the person doesn't naturally succeed with it. And then you're like, well, that didn't work. And it's like, it didn't work because you weren't at the right time. You weren't at the right moment. So my advice would be just sit, reflect. And if you think the time is right and you can implement, go for it. Or if you think, actually, I'm in a full-time job, I have a full 9 to 5, I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife, a husband, now is not the right time to do it. Maybe just pause with your checkbook. My God, checkbook, how old am I? Maybe just pause with your credit card and then, think when is the right time to go for it.
make some space first. Makes sense. Okay.
Make space.
Next one.
Right. That's number one. Okay. Number two, I love this one. This one's really important because I tell lots of people to do this. Share your journey from the start and tell everyone what you do. Yeah. So if we think about this and reflect on the story that I just told, the reason I was able to find my flat was not because I was calling estate agent. I mean, I did call estate agents. They kept rejecting me. It was because I was telling everybody what I was doing. And don't forget, let's just be really honest about this. I was a travel consultant. I had no experience in property. All of my friends laughed at me. All of my family laughed at me. It was during COVID. It was the height of COVID. Everybody was telling me that I shouldn't be spending the money that was in my savings account to invest in a property. Everyone was saying to me that I needed that to live on because I was going to be out of a job. And everyone was telling me I was going to be out of a job. And I had something like an unwavering belief in myself that I knew I could make it work. And I think that there are some people out there in this world that just have that within them. And so by telling my friend Sarah that what I wanted to have was this freehold flat, that's actually what started off my journey. I want to give a massive shout out to a girl called Libby as well on social media. She does it beautifully. Like, she is new to the property world and she has documented everything on social media. She's documented the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. And when people say to me, why do you think it's a good idea to do that? It's because, let's say that I was looking to invest in somebody, I would invest in Livy because I know that she is actively doing it. She is actively talking to me about what's gone well, what's not gone well. She's trustworthy. She's got nothing to hide. And I think social media is the most amazing platform that you can actually build your personal brand. So, Michelle, you said at the beginning, you're like, Athena, you're all over social media. Yeah, but there's a reason for that because people then come and they find me in the podcast and they talk to me and they're like, actually, I really feel like I know you through the podcast and I want to invest. And it's fantastic. So tell everybody what you do. And also, really key about this, I'm not saying to you to start your journey when you have your first property and your first picture is holding a key. I actually think that's too late. I think your first one needs to be, why are you investing in this particular strategy? What does your town offer that no other town offers? I saw somebody the other day posting about Gloucestershire and all the reasons why Gloucestershire was such a fantastic investment. She doesn't even have her first property yet, but she's showing herself to be an expert in the field. So just tell everybody what you do. Be proud of who you are, even with family, because let's face it, family and friends end up being your first investment anyway. And so if you're telling them what you're doing, they might laugh at you at first, as my family did. But my God, now they're all like, Athena, let's go. Like, let's do a property together. I'm like, oh, now you're interested.
It's like tell everyone, but don't listen at the beginning. Only listen to obviously the people who you want to be like, or they've achieved the results that you want to achieve. But as you say, for a lot of people starting out, they are reluctant to share what they're doing because people don't understand that you're in their own personal network. So I think you just need to ignore that and just go out and just do what you're doing. Still tell everyone, but don't listen to people who think that they can't do it. Unless you want to be like them.
Yeah. And do you know what I say to people when people say this to me? I say to people, number one, that they're basically trying to protect you. They're actually coming at it from a good place because they've never done it before. Therefore, there's no proof that it actually works. And in their mindset, because they watch the media, they watch the news. Do you know how many WhatsApps I still get, Michelle, from my mother and everyone literally sending me the crash is happening, the recession is happening, Trump's happening, get out of property now. I get it daily, daily. And all you got to do is smile and go, thanks for that. Big thumbs up on the WhatsApp and off you go. That's all you need to do. But recognize that it's still your choice. It's your life to go forward. And just because they can't do it and they think they can't do it, don't let them instill that in you, would be the thing. Okay, so that one. Now, this is an interesting one because it kind of contradicts number one, but at the same time doesn't. So I've put here, invest in yourself to progress forward is what I've put as number three. Now, I don't just mean money. I don't. So let's just talk about money really quickly and then I'll move on to what I'm referring to here. So number one, there is only so far that free information will take you. Free information will give you the what and the why, but the free information will never ever give you the how. The how is actually what you need in order to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So you're like, right, I think I want to do a HMO conversion. The reason I want to do a HMO conversion is they give higher yields than buy-to-lets. Look at all of these amazing results that people are showing me. Okay, how do I do that? And that's the bit that we have to get to. So when you're thinking about who to invest in, and sometimes I have conversations with people, particularly around certain birthdays, Christmas, it's seasonal, definitely. But they're like, oh, do you know what? Christmas is coming up. I don't have enough money to invest in myself right now. I've got to invest in the kids. I've got to invest in Christmas. And it's like, but you can make 10 times more money for next Christmas if you invest in yourself today. And I think that I wish I'd have known that sooner. I think that at the beginning I was like, do you know what? I'm going to get this free solicitor because the mortgage provider has told me to use this free solicitor. I'm not going to pay a mortgage fee over here because I'm not going to do that. And you have this scarcity mindset. You go free, 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 free. Don't want to spend any money. But actually, if you open yourself up and you have this abundance mindset, which goes, this is the amount of money that I have. I'm going to use this money. I'm actually going to take it forward and I'm going to make double the amount of money. And that's what you actually believe and that's what you implement, that is what happens. And it's so important to recognize to have that mindset. So that's basically money. And I recommend that everybody, when the timing is correct for you, timing is right, you invest 100% in yourself. It's the best investment you'll ever make. But more than that, what I'm saying is you have to invest your time and you have to invest your emotions. So time, you must think to yourself, do I have time at this moment to actually invest and further myself in property and what I'm trying to do? If the answer is yes, fantastic, go for it. If the answer is no, do one of two things. Either accept the fact that that is what's happening at the moment. Don't beat yourself up. Carry on what you're doing and the timing will come and it will present itself. Change what it is that you're actually doing at this moment to create the time. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. How we choose to use those is our responsibility. And then emotionally, my God, buckle up, guys. Property is one of the biggest roller coasters of my life by far. There have been ups, there have been downs. Useful example of this that I want to say is one of my mentees the other day literally sent me a WhatsApp message and I screenshotted it. She goes, I love property. Property is amazing. 3 days later, no joke, 3 days later, I get this long WhatsApp going, property is the worst thing ever. Everything is going wrong. My goodness. And I literally had to screenshot her and I went, this was you 3 days ago. You're just on a roller coaster right now. It's just dipping. You're going to go back up again. From an emotional standpoint, some people will be able to push through it because there will be some dark days. There will be some dark times. I've burnt out myself. It's a lonely, difficult road. But if you can hang on and think, actually, the good is coming, then you can achieve anything. You really can. So invest in yourself financially, emotionally, and with your time. Invest your time would be my three for that one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's quite a lot of power in knowing that it's an emotional roller coaster before you get into it. And I think there's something I picked up on early on, and I certainly went through. I was holding on for dear life as I went upside down on this roller coaster. But knowing that this was part of like the journey, and understanding that sometimes tenants aren't going to pay, or the solicitors are going to take 10 times longer than you want them to, and deals are going to fall through, and you're going to invest emotionally in these deals and they're not going to happen. Like, I think if you understand that's part of it, then it helps you to keep going and not jump off the roller coaster.
Honestly, and it's funny that we keep using this word, don't we, which is journey. This word gets thrown around, your property journey. It's like
Yeah,
It's
so
like
cheesy.
it's like that's literally what it is. To the end of our days, it's a journey. But do you know what? You've got to start somewhere. You really do. And I think the thing I had to learn quite early on, Michelle, is in my background I was quite a high achiever, and I got given a task and I would always be able to like ace it. And what I had to learn as a business owner, a property investor, is things go wrong all the time. And I used to feel like I was failing. I used to think I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm the problem because I've aced my whole life and now I'm not acing it anymore. And actually, what you have to do is you have to accept that and go, welcome to property. Like, it actually wasn't anything you had control over. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And as soon as you accept that and you become emotionally stable in it, it's so much easier.
Definitely something you have to kind of keep figuring out every day, that's for sure. Okay, next one.
Are you liking these so far? It keeps us on track as well. Okay, number 4. Be realistic and set yourself up for success. So I really like this one. So what I mean by this is sometimes because of my podcast, Michelle, for Girls and Property, shout out Girls and Property podcast. What happens is I get messages from women and men, so both listen. But what happens is they say to me what they want to do in their property journey. I tell you the ones I get most frequently are nurses and teachers. Nurses and teachers, I know you've got a background in teaching yourself. They're the ones that come to me and they're like, Athena, I've been a nurse for 20 years in the NHS. I want to leave my full-time job. I haven't got a lot of spare money, so I'm looking at getting into rent to rent. I've signed up with this specific property education company, but I've just found your podcast. I love listening to it. Can you please give me some advice? Now I'm thinking to myself, and this person has just messaged me, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm going, a nurse in the NHS, rent to rent. And I'm going, I don't know if that adds up. The maths isn't quite right for me. And so I start asking them questions and I go, okay, how many hours do you work within the NHS? And they'll be like 45 to 50 hours a week. I'm like, okay. And then I start asking them questions. So I'm going, okay, you want to take on rent to rents? What's your plan? They're like, I want to do rent to rent HMOs. And I'm like, okay, in order to do that, what's your plan in terms of how you're going to work it around your 9 to 5 job that you have in terms of the hours, and then be able to actually go and visit the landlords? And they're like, oh, I never thought about that. And what I want to say is if you think about a structure such as rent to rent, I was in rent to rent. I remember it. I remember, by the way, I had a full-time job when I did this. I just want to make this really clear. So when I was doing my job, I managed to get it that I worked from home. I mean, I've left the job now, so it's fine. I can admit this. I was working from home. And what happened was I'd get a call from an agent, and an agent was like, Athena, I think I've managed to find a landlord to agree to do this corporate let. However, they're going off on holiday tomorrow. Can you come to the property today to come and see it? You better believe the answer was yes, So I'm going, hi, like on my little virtual system. I'm like, hi, sorry, forgot I got a doctor's appointment. Need to clock out for an hour, which of course is unpaid in the travel industry. Need to clock out for an hour. I'll be back soon. And then I'd do the viewing, and then I'd come back. Or I'd be setting up all these emails to go to agents at 9 o'clock at night, but I'll schedule them to go at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you've got to set yourself up for success. So I said to her, if you're in the NHS and you're doing all of this, I don't think rent to rent is the idea that's going to work, because I don't understand how you're going to be able to get to last minute viewings to do all of this, because rent to rent is a fast paced, cash flowing strategy. Instead, why don't you look at X? Why don't you look at X? Why don't you leave, even, like, let's be honest, why don't you think about leaving the NHS if you're not happy in it and going and getting a job within the property sector? You can learn about property, you can understand property, you can do it that way. So I think it's about setting yourself up for success, as opposed to just believing that what you want to do, but not having a plan to actually achieve it. So one of the things that I always do is I create a 90-day action plan for myself. So I think, right, over the next 90 days, what is it that I want to achieve? And then I work into monthly. What do I want to achieve monthly? What do I want to achieve weekly? What do I want to achieve daily? And if you set yourself up those goals and that structure, it will enable you to fulfill those. And so I recommend that everybody does that and think to themselves, well, actually, what resources do I have available at this moment? If I have got a full-time job, how can I actually apply myself in the property world? Is it rent to rent? Is it deal sourcing? Is it buy refurbish rent refinance? Is it buy to lets, which, let's face it, is not passive, but it's one of the most passive ones that you can do whilst you do something else, is important to think about. So set yourself up for success, I think, is an absolute massive, massive one. And even small tweaks. I made a suggestion to one of my mentees the other day. She was telling me about her diary. We went through her diary so I could see whereabouts her life looked like. And she used to take her child to football at, say, 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. And I said, right, how long is that football session? She said it's an hour. And I said to her, okay, in that hour, is there a place that you can go and do some work for that hour as opposed to sitting in your car doom scrolling through Facebook? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, right, I want you to schedule all of the emails to go to the agents or open rent or whatever it is you're doing. I want you to schedule that for 8 a.m. the following morning so that it goes into their inbox in the morning. And she started doing that. And she's like, wow, now I've actually feel like I've got my time back. So that's what it's about. It's about really understanding what your life looks like and how to plan for success.
I agree. You either need to have the right strategy for where you're at, or you need to change the blueprint and what you're doing. Like exactly what you just said there, making sure that you're setting yourself up to succeed. And I think, like as you said, it's hard. It's not straightforward. It's not like easy, but it is possible. And you just need to play the cards that you've dealt with, right? So just work out where you're at, what resources you've got, and then maximize the time you've got as well. So great. Okay, right,
Yeah.
number 5.
I love that. By the way, that blueprint, I really loved that, what you just said. I think that was a great way of summing
You
that
can
up,
steal that.
actually.
Okay, Athena. You can have that one.
Yeah, no, I liked it. It was great. Yeah.
I got it from Tony Robbins, so it wasn't me.
Oh, fine. Cheers, Tony. We appreciate you always.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Number 5. So once you now know how you're going to set yourself up, you now know the strategy you want to do. My goodness, find yourself an accountability partner. Accountability partner has to be number 5. And people say to me all the time, they're like, Athena, what do you think actually really got you to where you are today? 100% it was the people I surrounded myself with. What I would say is this. I believe, this is my belief, that property is not about what you know, it's who you know. Whenever I've needed anything regarding property, community, podcasting, anything, it's about the connections that I have. And at the beginning of my journey, I found this one particular person who is now one of my property besties, called Sophie Foote, and she lives in Southampton. I'm in Bournemouth, and I found her in YPN magazine.
Hey.
Yeah, she writes for YPN. That's why I knew you'd like that one. She's fabulous. She's a fabulous girl. And funny enough, I was on the tube one day. Don't ask me why. It was a really weird thing that happened to me. I opened her 2-page spread in YPN magazine, and I turned to my mum and I said to my mum, don't ask me why, but this girl's going to become my best friend. Like, don't ask me why, it's just going to happen. So I did that thing that I tell everybody to do, and I did it myself, was I reached out to her on Facebook. She read back the message I sent to her on the recent 100 episodes of Girls in Property, and it is the most embarrassing message. Like, Michelle, it is the most embarrassing message you've ever seen in your life. She's like, hi, I'm Athena and I'm new to property and I'd really love to come and talk to you. It's so embarrassing. Anyway, funny enough, we couldn't actually make it work because she's got 2 kids. I had my full-time job. We were trying to meet up. It wouldn't happen. And then we actually went along to a impromptu Girls in Property dinner in Southampton. It wasn't like my branding Girls in Property. It was women in property having dinner together. And I turned to my left, and the person sitting next to me, by chance, was Sophie.
No way.
Completely unplanned. And so me and Sophie decided to become accountability partners. And I was still in my full-time job. And Sophie's like, Athena, just take the leap. Just do it. And I went, no, I can't do it. I'm gonna get a part-time job. She's like, just go for it. And she has absolutely been that person the whole way. And I say this all the time, that has said to me, Athena, go for it. You can do it. You can do it. And I think that's what everybody needs. I think everybody needs their best cheerleader, which hopefully I now do for others, to go, why can't you do it? Why is it not possible? Who's told you it's not possible? So if you're listening to this and you don't have an accountability partner, first of all, I do have the Girls in Property community group for women. So if you're looking for accountability partners within there, come and find me, DM me, or have a conversation. Or in your own network, have a think about, who is it that I could partner up with? Who is it that understands me? Who is it on socials I speak to all the time? and do that. Like, for example, it might be that you create tasks that you've got to do and you meet up every 2 weeks. And then you're like, oh, I better do that task because I'm meeting up with Claire in 2 weeks' time. I better do that. So for me, accountability was a massive one.
Yeah, I agree. It's with just accountability is what people sometimes pay for when they join these masterminds, and when they look back, I think when I look back and I've been on that those things as well. So much of it is the accountability, and you might be able to get accountability through your own networks, like just like how you've done for free, as in just buddy up with somebody, and I would definitely recommend doing that. For people who want to pay for that, then there's the option of paying for that as well. Either way, being people around. I mean, I remember going to networking meetings and I was helping out actually at one of one of these meetings, volunteering at the early days. And I just feel like those months go by so quickly, and I'd almost feel embarrassed that what have I got to say this month? And that really like helped me to see. I could see what other people were doing in that time, and I felt like I wasn't achieving it. I think, God, there's so much more that I could be doing here. So having a regular, whether that's a networking meeting, whether that's a community where you've got people who know you, but definitely having a one-to-one buddy, definitely worth its weight in gold. Good.
Yeah,
All right.
I love that. Okay, last one. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so this sort of links back to my previous kind of ones, but I think it's so important just to almost finish this podcast with, which is, and the reason, in fact, I'm gonna say why I'm gonna ask this question, and the reason I'm gonna ask this question is because this question was asked to me by somebody else recently called Sharish Bishram, beautiful girl, really beautiful girl, and we were doing a podcast, and she asked me this defining question, and this question stuck with me and still sticks with me to this day. And so I want the listeners to listen and almost ask themselves this question, which is, are you carrying your own limiting beliefs or that of someone else's? And for me, that was so powerful because I was like, are in fact my limiting beliefs my limiting beliefs, or are they the limiting beliefs that someone else has instilled in me? And I sometimes can't differentiate between the two because potentially they might have been instilled in such like a young age that you're like, are these my parents' limiting beliefs of what they could achieve and therefore they're mine? Are they my friends from school who bullied me and made me think that I couldn't do things, and in which case they're now mine? Or are they ones that I've developed within myself? And I know that sounds really deep, Michelle, but at the same time, I think that's quite an important thing for people to listen and think to themselves, well, actually, where do these limiting beliefs come from? How can I recognize them and how can I push through them? Because when you haven't started something, and let's say you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I really want to get started in property, I don't know how. I know how to invest. You've probably got all the blocks in the world because your cognitive has never done this before. So you're thinking, oh my God, this is the only money that I've got in the entire world. Therefore, I have to hold on to it with everything that I've got because that's what I was taught in school. That's what I've been taught by the media is hold on to your money, have a scarcity mindset. No, let it go. Let it be free. Let it work for you. And then you have no idea what you can achieve. Like money can be made in all sorts of ways, but you've got to take that first step. And so I don't know, Michelle, like I'm interested in your opinion on that one. What do you think about that?
I think limiting beliefs they're like layers. So just like layers on an onion, you keep on peeling them back. That we've all got them, I've got them, and I think for most of them, for most people, they're not even aware. They don't even know what a limiting belief is. They are not aware of the beliefs they've got um, about themselves or about life or about what they can do and what they can achieve. Uh, I think the first step is understanding and having that awareness over if they say, okay, I want to achieve this in property, and then there's thoughts that pop into their head. Okay, well, I can't because, well, that's a limiting belief. I can't because I'm too old, too young, haven't got enough money. Like they are the limiting beliefs. So the first stage is like just looking and analyzing where you're at now, where those beliefs are at, and then working on them, right? Because they can certainly, you can certainly just overcome them, but they do need work, and you need to just constantly be pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to just to overcome them. And it usually is not going to happen in one go. It's you're not going to suddenly wake up one morning or go out and do one thing and then that belief has disappeared. It's something that I think you just need to work on over time. So
Yeah, definitely. I tell you another one that somebody asked me. I love all these questions. Questions get asked to me all the time. Was they said to me, Athena, if not now, then when? And I was like,
yeah.
I thought that was really powerful. And I like your notion about this onions of the timing needed to be right. But what's interesting, Michelle, and I think it's important to say, is obviously you're a very successful person. You know, you've got everything going for you and YPN and etc. And yet you've just said on your own podcast, you've just said, well, I've got my own limiting beliefs.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just one that pops into my head was I've got, I'm a teacher, right? And I've got a passion for teaching and sharing knowledge and helping people and in that capacity. So for me, being a teacher and being in front of the students and having that ability to help them was something I wanted to bring in property. And there was an opportunity to get on stage once, like years ago. And the thought of getting on stage with, very well-known trainer to talk about a story. In fact, I didn't even have anything at the time, but I thought I would love to be on stage and talk about and help people. The thought of walking up on stage in front of everyone was so terrifying that I couldn't even think about it. And, and then you see me at the Property and Entrepreneur Summit in front of 400 people, having the time of my life, and sitting down with that trainer actually and talking about a deal that I'd done. But I only got there because if you just said to me back then, it's now or never, that wouldn't have helped me. I wouldn't have been able to get on stage and overcome that particular fear. But having done lots of different things and going to lots of meetings and getting up in front of smaller stages and smaller groups of people and working my way up, suddenly I'm at that point now where I've crossed that invisible line of like who I am, right? So
how about this one then? Progress over perfection.
yeah.
How about that? Yeah, because you just practiced. You literally just
Definitely, yeah. And I
practiced.
think that's something that really helped me, that idea of just, not caring, just getting it out there, just doing it. And it's imperfect and that's fine. And I'm going to make more progress by just putting something out there and not worrying about making it right or perfect, what other people are thinking. So
Do you know what I think
yeah,
I've do you know what I think I've learned from people? I think I've learned that people prefer it when it's imperfect.
yeah.
I really do. So if you'd have got up there and gone, actually, guys, this is what's happening right now, I think that would have actually have boosted you because people
You
would
know
have
what?
loved it.
I literally, I can remember the feeling. I wouldn't have been able to get up. I wouldn't have said yes. I wouldn't have got up. I know.
Well, are you speaking again coming forward at the Property Entrepreneur Summit in June?
I'll be up on stage there, yeah.
Okay, I will be cheering for you so hard. I will be like your fangirl in the audience, be like, go on, Michelle.
It's so funny, isn't it? Just you've got to go through the effort of putting yourself out there and being uncomfortable until until you're actually comfortable in that. So whatever that is, it's not going to be standing on stage for everyone, but whether that is picking up the phone to an agent or, or dealing with solicitors or getting your first deal over the line, like that proof of concept, once you've got it, is so powerful. So just like, as you say, just keep going, keep making progress, stick with it. And yeah, and then something will happen. You just got to keep going.
I love that. I love
Right.
that. So that was the 6. Do you want me just to quickly just recap really quickly? So number 1 was don't just rush to buy a course. 2 was share your journey from the start. Tell everybody what you do. Number 3, invest in yourself to progress forward. 4, be realistic and set yourself up for success. 5, find an accountability partner. And then last but not least, ask yourself the question, are you carrying your own beliefs or that of somebody else?
Fantastic. It's huge value, loads of tips, and I love it. I love that. I love the structure of it. Lots of value for people. So where can people find out more about you, about your retreats, about your Girls in Property?
Yeah, definitely. So I have first and foremost my Girls and Property podcast. So we're now sitting at 109 episodes on that, which is crazy to think. So it's going really, really strong. Now, I actually have guys and girls listen to that because I get lots of different guests on talking about lots of different topics, similar to yourself, Michelle. So it's called Girls and Property, but please do find it, whether you're male, female, anything, come and find it. I then have my Girls and Property membership community, which is specifically for women because I want to try and encourage as many women into the industry as possible. So we're just shy of 100 members now within that. So if you're looking for a dynamic community, then come and join. What happens is that I built it on something called a circle platform. So it's open 24 hours. We come, we connect, we chat, we give recommendations, advice, which is amazing. We literally stopped somebody doing a deal the other day because we looked at the deal and we were like, no, actually, hold up a second, which was fab. And then we also do online sessions as well. So I get different people coming on to talk about different things. the most recent one coming up, which will be the end of April, we're going to be doing all around investing, stocks and shares, which is so current in today's topic. So I'm doing that with Sophie, funny enough. And then I've also got in-person workshops as well. So 20-person in-person workshops that are going to be happening in June, September, and November. So come and ask me about that. The places to come and talk to me by far is the place I live most, which is Instagram. So my handles are Athena Dobson _official and Girls in Property. But I am on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn. So do come and find me. And then I'm actually launching my brand new website as well, which will be girlsinproperty.com.
Fantastic. We'll put links to all those in the show notes. And if you do reach out to Athena, please do, and get in touch and find out more about what she's up to. Do mention the YPN podcast to her, list what you've learnt. So thanks, Athena. Thank you for your time. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Okay. And for everyone else who's listening, if you're not yet a member of the YPN Plus community, then do click the link in the show notes. We are running lots of challenges at the moment. HMO challenge, raising private finance challenges. You get the magazine, you get lots of interactive live sessions, including deal clinics, networking, and money and tax and finance, and of course, our coaching sessions as well. So do join that, and I will see you then. Take care, guys.